I've been a researcher studying the brain and the mechanisms underlying OCD for almost 15 years now. And we have done a lot of work, usually publishing them in academic journals. But what you then realize over time is that even though they are published in these academic journals, they have hardly any impact on the real world of OCD, just because academic papers are often very difficult to digest and to it's unclear what to take out. So this project really is the ideal bridge, I think, to bridge the gap from the ivory towers of research to the real world of people living with OCD by translating and breaking down what is happening in the brain in those affected with OCD. So this project also really impacted the way we do our research, so that it's not just like a one-way directed dialogue from researchers telling people with lived experience, but also to have this feedback loop, to really have this two-way dialogue, to listen and understand what is important for people with lived experience of OCD, what are the topics that they want to see addressed, and to implement that in our own research, which we are now doing.
OCD Action were really excited to be involved in this project because we believe passionately in the power of information to inform and empower individuals with OCD, particularly to give them an understanding of treatment and how treatment might work for them. But for really understandable reasons, all too often, some of this really groundbreaking science isn't being shared with the OCD community in a way that they can understand or digest. At OCD Action, we saw this project as a way to change that. And so we believe this is really transformational. The information that is in this project has been co-designed by scientists, brain scientists, neuroscientists, and people with lived experience. And we think bringing that together will make all of the information accessible and empowering, and therefore will give a meaningful opportunity for the information to really change the lives of young people and their families where OCD is really having an impact on them.
I decided to get involved in this project because when I was going through treatment for my own OCD when I was 13 or so, I benefited a lot from thinking about this disorder in just biological terms. Exposure therapy is hard work, and to treat OCD, you really have to confront a lot of the base fears that drive your OCD. And when I was young, and still today, it's really difficult to confront that fear and really accept all the emotions that come with the confrontation. And it was always a little easier to get myself to do an exposure if I thought about this fear not as this big scary boogeyman out in the world, but rather as just like the product of some misfiring of some circuit in my brain. So because that framing helped me a lot, I figured something like this toolkit would help a lot of other folks.
So the reason why I got myself involved in this OCD and Brain project is because much of my research has been about OCD, and often I would interact with people with OCD in a very research-focused space. So this project really presented an opportunity for me to get to know and interact with the OCD community in a completely different way, where it wasn't just about me performing clinical interviews or conducting experiments, but where there would be this sort of two-way exchange of ideas and discussion.
I got involved in this project mainly because I am someone who suffers with OCD and I'm very passionate about making a difference. And this felt like such an important project to be a part of that I trust will make genuine change. On top of that, it's been nice to learn a lot about OCD myself, especially the neurology side of things. It's not something I was ever familiar with before joining on. So, yeah.
I got involved with OCD in the Brain because I and my colleagues at the International OCD Foundation firmly stand behind projects that directly involve the communities they're serving in their development. I was really impressed by the design. I liked how it bridged the gap that we so often see between researchers, charity partners, and community advocates. It brought everyone together to one room to do some really powerful collaborations. I was also excited about the global scale. As we know, OCD knows no borders. So having representatives from multiple countries made this international collaboration all the more powerful.
Is that I am the parent of an adult son who has suffered with OCD since he was 8 years old. And so I have a great deal of interest and compassion around the issue of OCD. I have been a contributor to the IOCDF conferences over the last couple of years, and I have met very skilled and professional people from IOCDF who I have a great deal of respect for. And when Liz Lindley asked me whether or not I would be interested in finding out more about OCD in the Brain Project and exploring the idea of becoming a community gatekeeper, I decided that it was something that I wanted to commit my time to. So.
And it was a no-brainer to become involved with this project because this particular project really stands for all of my values and everything that I hope for in my career and as someone who's both a scientist and someone with lived experience, because there's typically a phenomenon in research where the research is talked about amongst researchers with the nomenclature and the words that only researchers understand for good reason, because it is complex, it is hard to understand and distill down without a lot of effort. And then we have the groups of people with lived experience, the patients, the advocates, the families, and people who just generally want to understand mental health without the training. And oftentimes they're entirely left out of the conversation. The unique part of the OCD community is that they really, really do want to understand what's going on in their brain, because there is so much suffering, there's so much debilitation, and having an understanding of what is driving this condition in the brain can be extremely empowering and supportive to people moving through their recovery process, as well as contributing to research and feeling empowered and inspired to be able to help researchers in turn explore and find more out. So this project really serves to be that bridge for everybody and to bring all of the cutting edge information to one accessible place for everyone to be able to have access to.
So throughout my PhD research on OCD, I've had the opportunity to work closely with individuals living with OCD. And that experience really showed me that there seems to be a disconnect between the scientific study of the disorder and the lived experiences of those affected by it, which then prompts several questions such as, are we as researchers actually aligning our studies not just to advance treatments, but also to provide insights that are truly beneficial for those living with OCD? And in addition, I also believe that actually engaging in a dialogue with those affected by a disorder that you research is really essential to, first of all, make sure that you truly understand the disorder, and then also to design relevant studies. And I think the OCD in the Brain Project is precisely that kind of initiative that fosters such an essential dialogue.